if we may, of a 1000 kg per day biogas plant, the biogas plant that treats 1000 kg per day of food waste. So it is equivalent to our this biogas plant will avoid 120 cylinders of LPG per month. This is a domestic cylinder of about 14 kg per cylinder, and is equivalent to avoiding the CO2 emissions of about taking out 2800 cars off the road. Nowadays, I'm sure everybody has heard about carbon credits. So 1 ton of food waste processed per day is equivalent to about 1.5 carbon credits you can actually earn from this. The carbon markets are evolving, as you are aware, but yeah, that will be one of the big drivers also for these kind of plants. So we can get about 45 credits per month and so on and so forth. I would like to switch gears a little bit and talk more on the non-technical side, or talk more about what are the benefits that are available, what are the kind of business models that can be made out of this. So this is a typical benefit, if you may, of a 1000 kg per day biogas plant, the biogas plant that treats 1000 kg per day of food waste. So it is equivalent to our this biogas plant will avoid 120 cylinders of LPG per month. This is a domestic cylinder of about 14 kg per cylinder, and is equivalent to avoiding the CO2 emissions of about taking out 2800 cars off the road per month. Because by avoiding the waste to go into landfill, we evaded or avoided CO2 emissions from that. Or the same, you can think about it's equivalent to planting about 30,000 trees per month. So 1 ton per day plant can actually give you that much amount of CO2 emissions savings. And it also produces about 30,000 liters of biofertilizer per month, which can be used for agriculture or even urban gardening, urban landscapes, and so on and so forth. Nowadays, I'm sure everybody has heard about carbon credits. So 1 ton of food waste processed per day is equivalent to about 1.5 carbon credits you can actually earn from this. The carbon markets are evolving, as you are aware, but yeah, that will be one of the big drivers also for these kind of plants. So we can get about 45 credits per month and so on and so forth. So the question now everybody has is like, look, I mean, we understand the problem, we understand the solution. Why is this not replicating faster, or how should we replicate this faster? And everywhere you go, and whether or not it is a sustainable solution, non-sustainable solution, everything typically boils down to money, the economics. So where is the money going to come from? So the financing and technology landscape, I'll try to give you a little bit an overview. So there are a lot of funds available for setting up biogas plants from MNRE, Ministry of New Renewable Energy, DBT. These are the government funds, Indian and abroad, including Swachh Bharat Mission and MOHU, Ministry of Home and Urban Affairs, UN and all that. Then there are the banks that fund these things. There are NABARD, IREDA, various foreign sovereign bonds, municipal bonds. And a newer source that many, including us, have been looking into tapping is the CSR funds. So many of the companies, as you know, the bigger companies are required to put X percentage of their profits towards corporate and social responsibility. And many companies are now getting aware that waste management is actually a big problem, and it actually creates a big impact for the society and environment. So that funds are also coming. The municipal bonds, the green bonds, as some of you may have heard, have started coming up to fund specifically waste to energy projects or waste management projects. Many investors have started coming into this field as well now, and they are mandated to put their money in green projects, so to speak, or environmental projects. So they will specifically fund these kind of plants. But so that way, we are getting funding for things which are not that easily fundable. Different business models like the public-private partnership, PPP model, the build, own, operate model. All these things are a work in progress right now in the market. As this whole entire, let's say, focus on getting waste management has been a recent phenomenon, let's say, in the last 5 years. Now, technology providers, we are one of the technology providers, as very clearly mentioned. But that said, the technology for biogas is mature. It is not rocket science. It has been there for a long time. What we have been able to do is adapt it and modernize it to modern requirements, and requirements such as, in the Akshaya Patra style kitchens, we need a lot of reliability on the biogas. The pressure of the biogas has to be same. So those things we have developed upon reliability of these plants, and then the robust engineering. But then the basic technology has always been there, the anaerobic digestion technology. Disha mentioned about bio-CNG and bio-PNG. Those technology services providers are also available. We do that as well. And then the biofertilizer production is also pretty much clear nowadays. So that is there. So who are the stakeholders involved in all of this? So one is obviously the bulk waste generators. Who is generating the waste? We know that, for us, we know that in the household there is waste generated, so communities are there. But sometimes, we forget that there are huge, huge waste generators like food kitchens, canteens, vegetable markets, flower markets, food and fruit industry. There's a pulping industry, there's a packaged frozen food industry. There are poultry farms, there are slaughterhouses, there are goshalas, there are restaurants, convention centers. So these are extremely high number of, let's say, commercial slash industrial waste producers. In terms of the name they are given, the bulk waste generators, that's the word that the government uses. On the other side, there are bulk energy users. Again, sometimes we are blinded to, how the energy is being utilized in our country or even all over the world. A lot of energy is used daily by various industries that use heated electricity. For example, the city buses, the cabs running on CNG or petrol. There are large food kitchens. Again, like I said, they use a tremendous amount of heat. So, for us, we use a cylinder in a household for about a month. But even the smallest of the hostel canteen will use 5 cylinders per day of LPG. So that is the amount of energy that is utilized for cooking. If you go to even a standard mid-sized restaurant, they will be using easily about 10 to 20 cylinders of LPG per day. That is 100 to 150 kg LPG per day. So there's a high amount of energy used there as well. Then there are the bulk fertilizer users. Again, there are industrial food growers. There are many contract farming, organic farms and farmers that are coming up. And there's farmer producer organizations. So they will be the bulk fertilizer users who will also be interested in the amount of fertilizer that a standard size biogas plant produces. So these are the stakeholders, if you may, in this case. And government obviously is always a stakeholder because they can incentivize or disincentivize certain things. And they are obviously in charge of waste management officially. The municipality is responsible for waste management. Industrial areas, they can control the laws, electricity and gas distribution, agriculture and horticulture. And that's where, the government plays a huge role. And, the current government is doing a lot of efforts in all of these areas, right? From how we are managing our waste, how we are utilizing the gas, the natural gas or the petrol, diesel, and how we are managing our soil. So those things are actually coming into place. So all that is there. The stakeholders are there. The technology is there. What are the business models that work? For us as a private limited, we have always thought about this very hard because we truly believe that for anything to be scalable, it has to be economically viable. We are very clear that, maybe in my lifetime also, we may not be able to handle the entire waste of Telangana, forget about India. So what we have to be able to show is what business models work, so they get replicated and they get scaled up and so on. So that's why this slide is there. And, so one of the business models is waste generators use energy for sell. Like, for example, this is the model that has worked best for us. Canteens that generate the food waste by cooking use the biogas that is made from the food waste for cooking and save the LPG. So it helps them both. That is kind of obvious. Then the other business model could be waste generators. Like I said, there are some who are only generating waste and then they sell the excess energy, if you may, to energy users. So for example, bio-CNG or bio-PNG that can be made from vegetable markets or slaughterhouses, which do not have as much energy use as much the waste can produce. So what do? They have to sell. So that would be the business model where you would sell the CNG to vehicle users or bottle it and sell it to other heat industry users. That could be another model. So now in certain cases, what happens is the bulk waste generators have no leverage on the bulk energy users or vice versa. So for example, industrial areas, as you might imagine, for example, the ceramic industry is a classic example. They use extremely high amounts of energy per day. And we are talking of thousands of kg of LPG per day, but they have no organic waste, obviously, because it's a ceramic industry. So, but on the other side of the city, you might have actually these slaughterhouses and bulk waste generators without any use for energy. So the government has to come into the picture and connect these two and make laws or policies to help connect the bulk waste generator and energy generator to the energy user. So that is where, we are looking at a typical model, and I'll touch base on that a little bit more again. So we are suggesting that, let's say if you put up a biogas plant at a central waste generation location, like a vegetable market yard, like we have done, and the waste from the other city around the central location comes to that plant, and they produce the biogas and pipe it back to the nearby residential communities or nearby and a high energy user like restaurants and so on. So all these business models, and we call this the common biogas plant. The ROIs for these biogas plants will be less than 3 to 5 years. Return on investments, that is. So these are all economically viable plants that, that's the reason why many of the investors are now looking into it. So that was the general idea. Now I'll give an example of So how we can actually put customized solutions for a specific problem. We get this question all the time. हमारी university में या our residential community, can you put something? It's a building. So this is just a example. We can put a biogas plant in the cellar as well. In fact, currently we are discussing with a major building manufacturer in the high-tech city area to specifically do this. Put a biogas plant in the cellar. What Disha showed you pictures of are above ground standard, so to speak, the biogas plants. But that does not mean that is the only way to do it. We can split the different elements of the biogas plants and put it on different levels. For example, like here I'm showing that the anaerobic digester is in the basement, the processing cabin is the basement, all of this is in the basement, and then the piped gas can go to the canteens which are on above the ground level, so to speak. In fact, this is still a simpler model. In fact, the one that we are proposing right now is more complicated, where we have so digester like Disha is showing in the basement, and then the crushing unit at a different location. Here we are showing it on the terrace even. You can put it on the rooftop also. In the specific case that we are discussing right now, the crushing unit is on a different basement level. The digester is on a different basement level. The pressure tank that's shown in purple is on a different level. The kitchens totally are in a different building, about 200 meters away. All that is possible. So what we want to say basically from this is that the biogas plant is not something you need an open land and you need all that and only then it is feasible. No, it's not the case. Many times it is very easily customizable to the specific customer. What is really needed, we believe, is the intention. That is where what we are looking for from everybody. You should have the intention to solve the problem of waste. Everything else can be worked out. So this is the common biogas plant that we mentioned. Let's say we are showing in our cartoon of 8 to 10 TPD, ton per day biogas plant there. And the waste comes from different places like hospitals, multi-cuisine restaurants, star hotels. Some of these people don't want to establish biogas plants, or they cite the usual examples, jaga nahi hai, and we don't want to put a plant because there is no space, or for whatever reason. But then in that case, they could actually only crush the vegetable waste or the food waste that they get at their location and either transport the slurry, as we call it, the liquid slurry, in a tanker. It will be closed tanker. So there is no smell, there is no smell, there is no spillage. It's a clean way of transporting waste and get it to the biogas plant, where it will be converted into electricity, where obviously there will be space there, and then use cooking for LPG, or we can purify it and sell it to vehicles, and also use a biofertilizer, bag it, and sell it as a product. So that is something that can be possible for a urban situation, because typically the space is limited in every case in urban area. So we kind of touched based upon these different models. So I just wanted to give a little bit more detail. Like I said, the bulk waste generator owns the plant and utilizes biofertilizer and in a captive manner. This is where Disha discussed this from the concept of smaller, like a canteen. But we are now in talks with food industry. There also they have a similar issue where they have a lot of waste. In a canteen, you'll get 300 kg. In a food industry, you'll get 10 tons per day or 20 tons per day even. And they have the same problem. They have waste disposal costs, the logistics, the transportation, the municipality. Now they are getting more into those kind of issues. Now they also have another issue of the impact of fossil fuel usage. The industry is slowly moving towards decreasing the use of fossil fuels, and therefore they are also interested in green electricity or PNG and bio PNG and so on and so forth. So that model is, again, the ROI will be less than 3 years. The second model also that I wanted to highlight is where the so-called common biogas plant, or even a non-common biogas plant, where the NGOs or the CSR initiatives fund the plant in the city. Like Minaji also mentioned, we were able to get CSR funds for Osmania University, a biogas plant. But bulk waste generator owns the plant. The Osmania University will own the plant and then run the plant themselves. So that is something that can be easily replicated everywhere, as long as there are people aware that this model can be done. CSR funding can be given, and then the recipient, as we call them, can actually run the plant and utilize the savings to run the plant. And again, common biogas plant owned by municipality, or for that matter private, can also be a revenue generating model.